What is up, people? What is up? Okay, so about to do a Black Panther review. Just saw the movie a few hours ago, and yeah, let me talk about this. I want to talk about the things that I liked about it. I want to talk about the things that I didn't like about it, and I'm going to get into just a little bit of spoilers as well later on, but I'll let you know before I do that, so that, you know, if you need to stop the video or something like that, you'd have some warning. Real quick before I start though, I'm feeling a little bit unwell, so if I do come across as well that that's the reason why. Not sure what it is, some kind of stomach thing, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, but yes, let's talk about Black Panther. We do a review for this movie. So what I liked about it, I liked that it's a great film, you know, to put it simply. It is a fantastic film. It has a great story, and you can tell that they really put some time and effort into crafting a great story. Like, it's very multi-layered as well. It's got great acting in it from the whole cast, from, you know, the lead actors, co-stars, and everybody else. It's just fantastic all round. Great action. So for those of you who like action, it's awesome. It's got some cool humor in there as well, and it just all comes together to make just a fantastic viewing experience. Denai Gurari as one of the standouts in my opinion. I guess that's not too much of a surprise if you've seen her in The Walking Dead. She's fantastic there, so there wasn't too much of a surprise that she has a few cool action scenes. I'm not sure I'm saying her name right though. Denai Gurara, I think I might pronounce Denai Gurira. I'm not sure, but if I'm saying your name wrong, sorry. But yeah, she was definitely a standout for me. But in terms of my favorite character, I'd have to go with Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan. He was absolutely brilliant. Like, he was such a brilliant... I mean, I should probably point that out. I'm not familiar with the Black Panther comic. I know a little bit about him from him appearing in other comics that I've read and other sort of cartoons and things like that I've seen, but I don't know much about the full Black Panther story from the comic books that much. So I don't know how close these characters are to the original comic books, to the original comic book characters. That being said, the way Killmonger was portrayed by Michael B. Jordan in this film was brilliant, and I would go so far as to say that I feel like that is amongst my favorite comic book movie villains ever, up there with, you know, the Joker by Heath Ledger. It was just an absolutely amazing performance, and not just the performance, just everything came together. Like I feel like, I mean, I know that Ryan Coogler, the director, and Michael B. Jordan kind of go way back, so maybe that had partly to do with it. But he had such a great, well thought out character, the history of the character, his motivations, just everything about him and how he was portrayed. It just came together, and it was just awesome. And you need a good villain to have a good bad guy, of course. But boy, like by the time he gets to the end of the film, at least by the time I get to the end of the film, and just how it all played out in the end, he's just like, wow, you know, because you understand. I mean, we've had, you know, complicated bad guys and, you know, the whole thing like that before, and that's nothing new in and of itself. But I feel like with this guy, more so than a lot of other bad guys that you see in screen as well, you could always understand sometimes why they're doing it, but this guy was not so much you just understand why he's doing it. I was like, I'm kind of on your side a little bit. I mean, not fully, because he is a bad guy, and he does have, you know, that is clear that he's the bad guy, but you can so understand where he's coming from and why he's doing the things that he's doing. And it's just such a, especially how it plays out with the main character, T'Challa, Black Panther's character, because, you know, that whole thing as well. I don't want to give spoilers just yet, but it's awesome. It's really fantastic, and it's great, and yeah, definitely worth seeing. I would say that if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, you're probably just gonna go see it anyway. If you're a comic book movie fan or comic book fan, you're probably just gonna go see it anyway. If you're not, I do still think it is worth seeing. I think this is a film that's worth seeing regardless of how invested or not you are in the MCU movies, whether you like them or not. This is just a film that's worth seeing. It's just a great film, regardless of whether it's based on comic book or not, regardless of whether it's part of the MCU or not. It's just a great film from beginning to end, so definitely worth seeing for anybody, in my opinion. Also, with the MCU thing as well, like, if you've not seen any of the previous MCU movies, that doesn't matter. It's its own movie, and that's another thing I like about it. It is its own movie, and I think that's important with these types of films as well, because they are connected, and you do understand that they are connected. At least if you've seen other movies, you understand that they're connected. But it's its own film in the sense that it has its own beginning, it has its own progression, it has its own conclusion. And I feel like that sort of thing is important when you have movies like this, where there's so many of them. You know, everybody's going to have seen them all, and everybody's going to be like, oh man, I've got all these 10 years worth of movies to go through. It's a bit daunting. So you don't have to worry about if you haven't seen any of the films before for it. You understand what it's doing on its own. Star Wars might want to take some notes on that, by the way. But anyway, so things that I didn't like about the film. Now, I would say that pretty much everything I didn't like about the film is a minor thing. I don't think there's anything really major that pops up in my mind right now. Maybe on a second or third viewing I might notice some other things, but for the initial viewing, I don't think there's anything too major that I didn't like about the film. But there was but the things I didn't like, the accents. So the accents I did like. Let me be clear on that. I did like the accents. They went with this sort of generic African accent, which is fine. I mean, Canada's not even a real place anyway, so they kind of went this sort of generic, hey, everybody talks like these sort of thing, and that's fine. But what was special, as my friend Belgian Dan likes to say, is that every now and then it seemed like their accents would slip from time to time, so they'd be talking and it'd be like, hey, how are you doing today? You know, it'd be like that sort of thing. And you'd be like, wait, what? So yeah, that was it's a minor thing. It's a minor thing. It doesn't happen that often, I think. Maybe once or twice, I think, it might happen. But yeah, certainly not a lot of times, but it's a couple of times where I noticed. Other thing that stood out a little bit to me as well was the CGI. So for the most part, the CGI is fantastic. It fits in with the movie, with what they're doing and how it's, you know, how everything is in the film. But there was maybe, I think, once that I could think of right now where the CGI looked like CGI, right? And it's because you know it's there. You know, like a lot of it is CGI. You know that just as a, you know, rational thinking human being, right? You know that. But there's, for the most part, you're looking at it like, okay, this all fits in with what I'm seeing in the world that they've created. But then a few times it's like, or at one time rather, it's like, yeah, that looks like CGI, you know what I mean? And it's like, it looks a little bit too cartoonish. So there was that, but I think that's a problem with a lot of films. Again, it's a minor thing. But yeah, a few spoilers now, if I may. And I won't go into too many major spoilers, but just want a few things I want to talk about that do count as spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, proceed with caution. I try not to ruin the whole major thing, but just a few things I want to say. So if you are still listening, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you are okay with me discussing a few things right now. Okay, so another thing that I liked about it, just in regards to the story and its plot, is that it has very interesting metaphors to real life. At least how I experience life anyway. So for example, the whole thing about Wakanda, and by the way, just real quick, it does seem, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but it does seem to me that they might have retconned a little bit. I might have to go back and check a few things at some point, but it seems to me like I'm sure some stuff was retconned. But anyway, that's besides the point. But anyway, the whole thing about Wakanda is that it's this place, this country in Africa where, you know, like thousand years ago, the vibranium landed in the country, and the tribes formed around it. And what they're doing now is that they're very secretive of the vibranium, because they use it to fuel, you know, their technologies, their weapons, and all kinds of things. But nobody outside of Wakanda knows that. So to the outside world, they're just these poor farmers, and that's all they are. But the secret real Wakanda is that it's very technologically advanced, and, you know, they have all these, like, you know, massive, like, buildings and all these things and stuff like that. And that's the whole thing. And I thought that was a really interesting metaphor, because often when we as in Westerners think of Africa, you know, we do think of, you know, like, you know, poor villages and poor farmers and, you know, poverty-stricken areas and things like that. And that's not to say that doesn't exist. You know, it does. That is part of, you know, Africa as a whole. There is poverty there, and not trying to deny that. But there's also another side that you don't really hear about, which is, you know, like, you know, the beautiful landscapes, you know, the buildings, the architecture, the arts, you know, and all the culture. There's so much there. So it's almost that's what I mean about the metaphor. It's almost like that in real life, where it's like we have this perception of Africa as this thing, but then you go there, and that is a part of it, but it's also this whole other part that you just don't hear about that so often. So that to me was a really interesting metaphor. But another interesting metaphor as well was about sort of foreign policy and the whole thing about vibranium, and how, you know, they're keeping it to themselves and they don't let the outside world know about it. And for thousands of years, they kind of protected that secret, and that was the whole thing. And now it's come time where it's like, okay, should we be letting the world know, because they can help people, they can do this, they can do that. And they had this at the end where he talks about, you know, it's better to build bridges than to build barriers. And of course, well, I'm saying of course, but it seems to me that they're trying to make a reference to a certain leader of a certain country in that. I could be wrong, but that's how it came across to me. But to go into a bit more detail about Killmonger now as well, and one of the reasons I think he was just such a great villain and such a great character is because his character was that he was born in the United States. However, his uncle came from Wakanda, and his uncle was sort of sent as a spy, but his uncle betrayed Wakanda. But the reason why his uncle betrayed Wakanda is because his uncle actually wanted to sort of help people with the technologies and stuff like that. And, you know, well, not so much help people. There's maybe a bit more to it than that, but not completely innocent reason, so to speak. But that was that thing. And then he grew up in America, and he grew up, of course, because his dad was killed. And I won't go into how his dad was killed, because even though I'm talking about spoilers, like I said, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but his dad was killed, and so he grows up, I guess, as an orphan, you know, wanting to seek revenge. And that was his whole thing, just trying to do everything he did was to get back. But then he talks about, you know, the fact that, you know, this place exists and they have all these riches, they have all this, they have all these things, and he talks about how, you know, that, you know, people around the world that are suffering, as in people like us, as he puts it, people who look like us, that are suffering, but you do nothing to help, and that to him is abhorrent. So you understand where he's coming from with that. And there was this really awesome line that he says at the end, and it was just I don't even know if I should say, even though I'm talking about spoilers, I'm not sure I should say this line, because I feel like maybe not, you know, I'm not gonna say it because I feel, even though, yeah, I've done a few spoilers, but I feel you should watch the movie for the line that he says at the end, where it's just like, you know. But yeah, I'll leave that for you guys to see in the film. But yeah, he was a great villain in my opinion, and I really feel like he's up there with some of the best villains of all time for, you know, comic book movies, maybe just even movies in general. It was such a great performance, a great character, well written, well planned out. Fantastic. But yeah, that is my opinion on Black Panther. A great film, worth seeing. Go see it if you haven't seen it already. It's awesome. It's a great film. Let me know if you have seen it. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of this video, and if you like this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. You can check out more videos over here, comedy channel over there. Subscribe and follow me around the web over there. All links in the description. But that is all for now. So thank you for watching. Until whenever, if ever, move or you will be moved.